and involved in the decisions that impact our schools and our children. We would like to extend our sincere appreciation to Interim Superintendent Dr. Miller for her leadership and dedication to the students, families, and staff of the Freeport School District. We also thank the Assistant Superintendent for Business for presenting this evening's budget information and helping to ensure that our community remains informed about the district's financial priorities and investments. The NAACP has always believed that strong schools build strong communities. Forums and presentations such as this provide an opportunity as we work together to support educational excellence for all students. Thank you again for being here this evening and for your continued commitment to the Freeport community.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I appreciate it. And good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight at our budget forum here. We also want to thank Freeport Public Schools for their incredible partnership and what has been a week so far of education-focused community engagement. On the behalf of the Freeport-Roosevelt NAACP, we want to thank our members, our community residents, our parents, our educators, our partners for being present tonight. We also want to thank Mr. Ogundibe, the Assistant Superintendent for Business, for also being here and joining us to provide an overview of the proposed school district budget and to help answer questions from the community. Tonight's goal is ultimately simple. We want to help the residents better understand what's in the proposed school budget, how major spending decisions are being made, key changes that exist from last year to this year, and most of all, where you can find more information before casting your vote and also giving your voice to the district about ways you want to see our children be supported. This forum is intended to be educational, nonpartisan, and ultimately community-centered, where we are here to support transparency by asking thoughtful questions and also making sure that residents can make an informed decision. We also know that school budgets can be complex. They can include state aid, they include local revenue, they include staffing, benefits, student services, BOCES costs, revenues, security, facilities, and many other things. But our hope tonight is that this presentation will help break down the budget in plain language, provide clarity on the areas community members have raised. And so before we begin tonight, I want to give a quick review for tonight's flow. First, Mr. Ogundibe will provide his budget presentation overview on the behalf of Freeport Public Schools. And then after that presentation, we are going to move into community questions, so that way it's there. Earlier this week, actually within the last 2 weeks, we have been gathering questions from the community in regards to the budget, at which we have come up so far with some core questions that we'll start off the conversation with, and then afterwards follow through. Community members can submit at any time their questions. On the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A Zoom feature where you can type that in as the presentation is happening. But as you know, due to time constraints, we may not get to every question tonight, but we'll do our best to group similar questions together and lift up questions that reflect common themes. And also, we will keep track of the questions that if we did not get a chance to be able to follow through, we'll be sure to connect with the district afterwards. As we may know, we want to make sure our questions focus on the budget and centered on district-wide issues. Some questions, as we may know, also may require some follow-up after tonight, right? So some things may involve specific documents, legal limitations sometimes, personnel matters, contracts, information that may need to be reviewed before it can be answered fully. So our goal here is not to put anyone on the spot, but instead to make sure that the community has access and information that is here. And make sure that you know where to go for additional clarity. And at this time, we're going to stop my share of the presentation, and it is an honor for us to be able to present Mr. Adu Agondambe, the Assistant Superintendent for Business. Again, sir, thank you so much for being able to join us this evening and taking the time to walk the community through the proposed budget. And so we invite you now to be able to begin your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. And I want to thank the entire NAACP for their support in the past years. And this is a great partnership for Freeport School District, and I know you guys have the welfare and the concern of our student and the community at large. And we thank you for this partnership. So I bring greetings from the Board of Education of Freeport School District, the Central Administration, as well as the new interim superintendent, Miss Dr. Miller. So tonight, I'm going to be going over the overview of the budget as earlier mentioned. I hope everybody can see my screen now. Is it shared? Thank you.
You're good.
Okay. Slide. So our budget is made up of needs to support our students. We're preserving all our programs, services, and staffing while looking to enhance what is already in place to meet the needs of our students and families. Thank you for supporting and passing the budget last year. This current budget, the budget support all contractual obligations, no teacher layoffs, all current programs are preserved and are being enhanced. This is the budget at a glance. The budget, we're required to present the budget in three parts known as components, namely the administrative component, the program component, and the capital component. So at a glance, this is the breakdown of the three components. And if you compare last year, 2025 budget to the proposed 2026-27 budget, you will see a budget to budget increase of 9.8 million, which translates to a 3.94% increase, meaning the budget increase from the last budget to the proposed year. So I know for somebody to say, oh, the budget increased 9 points, how did we how did we arrive at 9 point something? So I can boldly say, the budget last year was 250.9 million. The proposed budget is 260.8 million, which is an increase of 9.8 million, as I mentioned in the last slide. Looking into it critically, the budget increase in these four major areas, namely salaries and benefit, which are all contractual in nature, transportation due to expanded services we give our students, and also special education due to increase in cost and increase in number of students receiving services. This is not unique to Freeport. Every school district reported increase in the number of students increasing receiving special education services. So these are the major areas where the budgets are significantly increased. This pie chart shows the three components of the budget, namely capital, administrative, and program. The green portion of the pie chart shows program and services to children. So meaning the greatest portion of our component is the program. So Freeport School District major revenue comes from, four main sources. The fourth one, although it's not a revenue per se, for Freeport, about 60% of our revenue come from state aid. A significant portion of our revenue also come from property taxes. Also, other revenues such as interest on bank, rental of facilities, those ones are not as big. They consider miscellaneous revenue. The fourth source of revenue for budget purposes is fund balance and reserve. Typically, I tell people fund balance and reserves are not revenue because they're not revenue from the year you are proposing. They're left over from previous year's budget that you are using to balance the current budget. So this is the budget currently comparing the revenue areas as well as expenditure for the 2 years. Last year, you will see state aid is 146.1 million. The current proposed budget is 148.4 million. Tax levy, we're levying the same amount as we did last year. No tax levy increase. Other revenue sources slightly increase. We're projecting, 3 million in other revenue sources, such as interest on bank, um, interest on property taxes being collected by the tax assessor's office and all others. So also we're using fund balance and reserve, 16.3 million for fund balance, for the use of fund balance, and we're projecting 5.7 from reserves. Reserves are usually specific for certain purposes, and only those purposes can you use it for. In this year, there will be part of our ERS, which is Employee Retirement System, a benefit that the district needs to pay on behalf of employee. Part of it is being pulled, to balance the budget. And if you look at the expenditure side, we broke it down into 5 main areas: salaries, benefits, supplies and services, BOSIS services, and also capital project. You will see that BOSIS services increases significantly in the proposed 26-27 year by about 3 point something million. And that expenses include special education related services, as I mentioned earlier on. So this is the budget, again, showing last year's budget, showing budget to budget, as we mentioned earlier, 9.8 million increase, and which is a 3.94% increase. Also, I show below it how much we levy last year compared to what we levy this year. So side by side, we levy 87.1 in 25-26. In 26-27, the proposed year, we also levying the same amount, meaning there is zero tax levy increase for residents of Freeport. Also in this budget, we have capital improvement project in 2 streams. Part of this 260 million budget, 7 million of it is for capital related project, such as fixing a corner of Columbus Avenue School, the high school basement drainage, and couple of other projects that is going on in the district. The 2.5 million is not from this budget, but it's an authorization from what the district has in capital reserve for capital purposes, authorization to spend 2.5 million on several projects such as sidewalk, playground renovation, and things like that. So this is at no additional tax levy to the community. This is from the capital reserve for capital purposes. So there will be an authorization and a proposition for that on the ballot. So on the ballot, we have 3 propositions. The 2026-27 Freeport School budget will be on the ballot. The proposition for authorization to spend 2.5 million in the capital reserve that I just mentioned will be on the ballot. And also is the Freeport Memorial Library budget will also be on the ballot. So the budget vote and trustee election will happen on May 19, 2026, which is next week, Tuesday, and it will be from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. in all the polling units within Freeport community. At this point, this is the summary and the overview of the budget, and I will be open to any question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ogundibe. Appreciate it. And a very succinct in terms of the key priorities of the district. I wanted to touch on a couple of key pieces of your budget just for clarity to make sure the community can understand where we're coming from with it. One of the things that you did talk about is that there is a 0% tax levy because it was consistent across. But I think one of the questions that the community wants to know is that what was the largest year-to-year increases or decrease in the budget? And what's driving those changes? So for instance, is there things that specific budget line items that we need to pay attention to or others that we can support on? So again, the first question is what are the largest year-to-year increases and decreases that you saw in the budget between last year and this year?
Okay, so I'm gonna take us back to this slide.
Okay.
As I explained earlier on, these are the major area where the budget increased from one year to the next. And if you could see, the budget to budget is 3.9 percent increase, 3.94. But look at these four lines. These are salaries and benefit. And as you know, they're contractual in nature. Those who are in step one this year will be step three the following year. Those who are in step four will be step five. So we're talking of Freeport with over 1,000 employees. So meaning you have to move everybody to the next step. So this increase is contractual in nature, and that's a 3.4% increase across the board. And also its benefit, you will know that healthcare insurance is going up. So also when salary moves up, ERS is going to move up, meaning employee retirement system payment is going to move up. Teachers retirement system is going to move up because the district pay a portion of all this. So as the salary moves, so also is the benefit. So these are contractual. Transportation, the last two budgets 2 years ago, the district passed a proposition to transport more students. And last year, transportation costs jumped about 30% increase. So we're still seeing this increase in this year, which is this 1.2, and that's why you see a 7.3% increase. Also, special education, number of kids currently receiving services, the enrollment of students receiving services, special education services are increased. And this is not unique to Freeport. It's something that is being noticed across the island. Some are saying it's studies showing is effect of COVID-19. That's why we're having some of these kids, needing several services that are special education in nature. And that's why you see this 11.37%. So these are where we saw the major increase, just to answer your question.
Thank you so much, sir. So an average altogether, it's a 4.96% change.
Correct.
Overall.
For this area. So meaning if we're looking at the budget, we're saying budget to budget is 3.4, right? It's 3.4. But this four area increased 4.9, meaning there's some reduction in other service area in the budget to accommodate to bring the total budget to 3.9 instead of 4.96.
Gotcha. Okay, so in other words, instead of 4.96, you were able to make reductions in
In some area, correct.
Keep it maintained at the 3.96%.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. The next question that I had, and one of the key pieces that you had talked about was BOCES. I know that the spending is one of the key pieces there. What do you see as one of as seeing with BOCES services here? It went from 24.6 mil in 2025, 26, and then it increased slightly to 27.5 mil. Can you just talk about what are the largest increases in the budget spending? Is it connected to enrollment, needs, program expansions? Because I think sometimes people have different definitions of what that can look like, and I think it's important to provide clarity on it.
In all honesty, the district enrollment has been going down, but however, between last year and this year, it's pretty stable. But however, there have been increase in the number of students needing special education services. So that's the first part of it. Increase in the number of students needing special education service. And in addition to that, special education cost is also increasing. So we are having two double increase here now. We're talking about the number of students needing service as well as the increase in the cost of providing those services.
Got it. Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that with us and going through. And I think one feedback or follow-up would be is that if your office would be available, some folks may would love to have an interest in understanding what specific areas of BOCES that is being supported without, of course, revealing student information because that's clearly confidential, but looking at the different categories of BOCES. So for instance, some who are going for the career and trades versus those who are utilizing it for services because they're providing it. So if we could work with your office afterwards, I think would be fantastic to get that clarity.
Oh, sure. But like I have, that's why we have as special professionals in the school
Yes,
setting.
right.
I have assistant superintendent for special education who
For
can
people
dive
personnel.
deep,
Yep.
and be able to provide more information on that area.
Awesome. No, thank you so much for that. Another key question that I think you spoke about before, maybe you could go to that slide, is around reserves that you had to talked about. That was a key question that was also presented.
It's right.
I think, and so if you could talk a little bit about that a bit more in terms of how is the interest earned or reflected or used, and what is the process for using the discretionary funds? Is it through a vote? Is there community input? I think sometimes, again, there is a ideas of how this is used. So when you say you're using reserves, it's like, okay, well, who said they could use it? I think it's important to provide that clarity as well.
Okay, so as part of the budget development process, like the Board of Education is involved and they always, they meet with administration and there was a presentation to the board as well. The board also gave us, the direction as what they want to do. There have been multiple reports about Freeport from the state comptroller about the district having keeping to every school district is required to have a fund balance, which we known as a rainy day fund. The percentage required of every district is 4% by state regulation. But however, by the audit that the state comptroller did in 2024, Freeport has slightly above double digits in fund balance, and also other reserve were well funded and some of them overfunded. So the state comptroller has issued this report and they have made suggestions to the district, to either do a one-time capital project, they made several recommendations, or use it to reduce taxes, or go in for one short, project. So one of the things the board decided and they made note to administration was, okay, since you guys have this, there is no point levying the district, resident, and we want to bring this fund balance lower toward the state regulation is saying. So, and that was the main reason why, we are not going out to levy, although that in itself has also has an effect later, because anytime you decide to levy now, you are starting with the amount you levy the last time to begin your calculation. So meaning if we keeping the tax levy low the way it is, a time is coming where we will need to come up
Got
to
it.
levy. But
To make it
as it is right now, the board believe they're not there yet. We don't want to raise taxes on our community for now, and that's why we, you know.
Got it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And that's important to have the clarity of the process of the types of input that community members have. And I think this is why it's important to be participating in board meetings to make sure there's other key priorities that need to be included, that we also make sure that we have a voice in that process from it. Another key question that we had that was submitted was talking a bit about school safety and security spending. And so I know that this is more of a broader overview, but has there been where would that factor in as part of your budget overview in terms of the like a consolidated picture or cost when it comes down to school safety and security spending? So whether it's staffing or contracted services or things around like cybersecurity and other things, what is the estimates that you're looking at right now, and how is that factored into the budget?
Okay, so I have to say that every school district is required to have the safety and security of staff, personnel, or students within our facilities, at any point in time. And as part of this is also inbuilt into the budget. Currently, over the years, the district, even though we have not been able to attract, we have had reduction in in-house security guard. The
Hmm.
district has, signed an agreement with the union to show up the God's strength by engaging the service of a provider. Although currently there is negotiation ongoing to have a better remuneration and better working condition for in-house security guard, so that the district can hire, more competent people, and we can do away with contractual um, with service providing company.
Hmm.
So this is ongoing, and I can't speak about detail of negotiation that is ongoing right now. But I
Ongoing,
know,
right?
yeah, that's part of what it is. So every year we budget for the required number of guard, even though from there we take money to pay uh, a consulting company who is providing us instead of our own in-house. Um, Currently, the leadership is also an outsource, working with the district. So all
Hmm.
these are built into the budget. In addition to these, we have infrastructures such as security cameras. These have been upgraded over the years, and there are multiple program also going on. I mean, projects going on, and also built into this into this budget, uh door replacement. Now we have digital doors in most of our schools. The old doors were being replaced with a modern um meeting security needs, of today in all the classroom. I know currently George was finished, Bayview was worked on, Freeport High School is another. Including in this is also a PA system, and the PA and the clock system in the schools are currently being modernized, because these are all security related investment that the district is making in all these buildings. The PA clock,
Right.
the PA, the clock, and things like that. So, and many other things, built into this budget. But in terms of dollar, it will takes uh, it will take holistic putting together things that are security and safety in nature, other than just salary.
Got it.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And so you guys budget that in advance based upon estimates and things that you had from the previous year until this year and be able to calculate an increase so that way you're still able to cover the minimum requirements.
correct.
Okay, understood on that. And then another quick question. Thank you so much for hanging with us so far with it. We have two more that's on. One that has been a large topic of conversation is legal services. And I think one of the things and now what we're not talking about is things of ongoing litigation, et cetera. I think the question that we're looking at is more so about how are legal services covered and cost as part of the budget? Is it a similar process to how you outlined with security, for instance, where each one of them goes through that same process? So I would love to hear your feedback on that.
So basically, when we're developing budget, right, one of the things we do is, because we don't know how much of legal costs we might have during the year. But however, it's part of planning, knowing how much did we budget the year before, what was the actual amount we spent, how much did we budget the year next, what was the actual amount spent, is there any expected litigation or whatever. These are built into the budget. And I can tell you, if you have the detailed budget, which is also on the Freeport District website right now.
Okay.
If you look at the security last year and this year, you will see, if you go multiple years back, I think it's around 200 and something.
Mhm.
This current year is about 300 and something. If I'm just speaking off of, you know,
Top
uh,
of your head with that. Yep.
right, it's around there. So this is how we figure out, what it might cost, in the new year, in the
Got it.
proposed year, I'm sorry.
No, thank you for sharing that. And I think that's important because we've seen different aspects of public conversations around litigation, et cetera. And so with that, we're seeing an increased cost. And I think the concerns are often has come in about what does that look like and how long would that be and how much does that affect the other services or components, as you call it, within the budget. And so making sure that we can prioritize the students versus that so that we can get back to business. So I think that's the key reason why that question's being asked. So I appreciate you providing the clarity of how that's being projected. I think the only last question that we have left here, and I just want to make sure that I'm looking at the audience to make sure there isn't anything here. Looking at similarly contractual services and consultants. It's a two-part question that's here. One, I'm assuming that the same process that you outlined for the attorney is the same process that it looks like for the consultants, but I think it's important to speak on that. And then the second question is, does that detailed budget that you said it is available on the website, and we'll make sure our audience that as when we share the feedback video, we will also share the link to that so that way you have access to it. Um, does it also provide a detail of it may not necessarily be by vendor or others, but instead the amount of the contract services so we can also see how much is being done in-house versus things that are being outsourced. So again, what is the process for the consultants and contractors? And B, is the level of detail available publicly for people to look at?
In the line item budget that is on the district website, saying the proposed 2027-28 budget,
Mhm.
um, including the budget statement as required by law, is online. And I believe, in the first page of all the breakdown of the numbers line by line, you're gonna see line for consultant, you know.
Mhm.
But other, like in the past, the board, you will see that line, consultant is there, and that's why everything is transparent. You can go in there, you can see a budget item, maybe it doesn't exist the current year we're in. If it exists in the year in proposed year, you're gonna
Mhm.
see it there because it lays the budget, the current budget side by side the proposed budget, and these are all listed in there.
Awesome. Okay. And I think the last piece that we're gonna let you do before we let you go, Mr. Ogundibe, thank you again for that,
You're
is
welcome, Mr.
if
Edison.
you can share with us if there is one key takeaway from this budget that you have seen that has changed and something that we need to be mindful of as we share the message across the community, what would you say to that?
This is what I'm gonna say. Freeport right now is in a good financial standing. There's no layoff. This budget supports all the program and services that we currently have in Freeport School District. So there is no reduction in services. There is no laying off of teachers. The district has enhanced what we have currently. Why, we enhancing what we have currently and no reduction like we have in other school districts. You will hear, there's teachers layoff. There's some school district that are taking they're piercing the cap. That's not the situation here. So the key takeaway here is that we're continuing our program. We're providing all services and also enhancing what we're doing, and in addition to that, we're not increasing the tax levy.
Awesome. Mr. Gondibe, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to be able to have you join us as part of this conversation. We'll be sure, as part of our commitment as the Freeport-Roosevelt NAACP with our Madam President and our chapter, to continue to partner with the district and continue providing clarity, transparency, and ongoing conversation to make sure that people are informed. And we thank you for being a part of this process with us.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And as we wrap up, folks, in there, Mr. Gondambe, if we can share, we can stop sharing for your slides. I'm going to share just two quick notes for our folks. I greatly appreciate it. Mr. Ganabe, if you don't mind, if you would be able to close your slides for me so I
Okay.
can share the updates of it, I appreciate it. All right.
Okay.
With that said, thank you. Thank you again for
Okay.
your time.
Right. Am I allowed to leave? Because I have.
You can. We're wrapping up right now
Thank
as we
you.
get through. It is late, and we want to make sure we honor everyone's time. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. And as we wrap up, folks, just to give you a quick reminder of what was shared earlier, May 19, 2026, the polls open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. As you've heard today in the forum, there are three things that you are voting on as part of the ballot. Number one is the 2026-27 budget. Number two, you will be also looking at a capital reserves line as well for 2.5 million. So please make sure you pay attention to that and what specifically is being asked for. And last but certainly not least, due to the classification of the library being passed through the school district, you will also be voting on the Freeport Public Library budget as well for 26-27. Again, if you need more information about where to vote, early ballot absentee or locations, please take a picture of this. We will also have that available on our Facebook page on the NAACP Freeport-Roosevelt branch. And last but certainly not least, if you are some folks here that are watching and you want to continue the education conversation, our final event for this week, it's been a long journey for us. It's going to be Thursday, May 14th. For Roosevelt Union Free School District, we'll be hosting a Meet the Candidates Forum that is there. It will be hybrid. We would love to see you in person at Choice for All at 55 Mansfield in Roosevelt. But if you're unable to join us for any reason or something happens, because life does good that way, please join us on Zoom and still be informed and engaged and a part. So again, on the behalf of our Madam President, Donna Raphael, our chapter itself, Freeport-Roosevelt branch, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great evening all, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.